Hi guys, my name's Alena and today's video is going to be how to take notes in college. These are my tips from a 4.0 student. I just have so much I want to say about note taking because the way that most videos that I see come up with notes, I know we love seeing the beautiful color coordinated notes with beautiful handwriting and hours of work. But let's be realistic, ladies and gentlemen. We don't got the time for that. And even if we do, most of us are lazy. I'm just gonna tell you, I'm lazy, okay? I don't want to do that. I would love if I could, but I just don't have the patience for it. So I'm gonna give you hacks, things that I would do, how I took my notes that were efficient, made sense, and were freaking the reason why I got 4.0. So let's go ahead and jump into this video because I got so much information to drop on you. If you're new here, make sure you're subscribed because we're a nice family. First tip, very realistic. Keep it in one place. Don't freaking write notes in a notebook, then on your laptop, then on your iPad. You're gonna get freaking lost, okay? For whatever class you're in, keep your notes in one spot. If it's macroeconomics, whatever you wanna do, okay? You wanna type? Type. You wanna write? You write in that notebook. You wanna write in random notebooks and then pop it out and put it in a binder? Sure. But do it. Put them all in one spot because I can't tell you how many times at the end of semester you're like, damn, where did I put that chapter 14 notes I took? Next thing you have to decide is paper versus digital. I'm somebody who had different classes. I preferred different note-taking methods. For psychology, I preferred a lot more to just sit there and listen because she had her PowerPoints already online. I could just print them out and I would have everything that she'd be saying there. Sometimes I'd like to just print them out before class and write down examples she'd give or ways that she would explain things that maybe gave me a little bit of a click in my brain to make sense to remember that topic. But I would not waste my time writing everything on the PowerPoint if I already knew she had it online. Meanwhile, in my statistics class, the professor never gave us notes. They weren't available. There was practice problems available, and he just told us exactly what to write down. His PowerPoints were literally the notes that we had to take, and he wouldn't give it to us, so I would just write them down crazy. You gotta know. If you know that you have to do it, then you gotta do it. But it's for different classes, you have to understand what is required. So let's get into the nitty-gritty, and I'm going to show you guys what my notes look like. I like to make them a little bit more spaced out. When things were on top of each other, I couldn't add in random notes. There were a ton of times I would write my notes out, and there would be something I forgot to say. For example, right here, this little starred thing, that's something I forgot to add in, okay? And I added in later. Maybe certain things over here, I starred another thing, something that I forgot and added in. By giving myself more space, I was able to fit in things that maybe I'll remember when I'm reviewing or whatever. Let me explain to you guys the process of how I take these notes. First thing I do is I really love spiral notebooks. I love writing in them. They are just the best way for me to take notes because then I can't freaking lose the papers. So this was originally written in a notebook, and then I tore it out when I had to study. I also did not use color when I was writing these notes. If you can tell, these notes are written with a black pen, and then I used the highlighter later on when I was reviewing. So my recommendation, one of the most efficient ways I found writing notes, is literally write the notes from the textbook the night before, just a general thing if you want to. Certain classes, again, not every class requires this. And then when the teacher talks about it, I would just add in certain topics. If they said, oh, this is a good example right here, I'll add that in. If that doesn't work for you, don't worry, because I didn't do that for every class. I would take the notes in the class because sometimes professors actually gave good notes. PowerPoints looked presentable, everything made sense. And I would literally copy it down. And then I would add little stars where things that he said, examples or certain things that they would say that sounds like it would be on the exam. Those things I would write down. When I would have to take a test, I would tear this out. I would take a highlighter, right? And as I'm reviewing, I would highlight through this. So probably the first day of me reviewing, maybe the first 3 pages were highlighted, the rest was black and white. Now, how you highlight depends so much on you and like what you need. For me, for certain classes, I would highlight green for things I understood, yellow for things I should probably ask a question about, and pink for things I just did not understand and I really needed to see a teaching assistant about it. Now, for this, I pretty much understood that I had no freaking idea what any of this was, so I highlighted it to make it look pretty. A few classes I've noticed were very much based on textbook material, and certain textbook problems would give a lot of insight into certain type of problems that would be on the exams, especially after taking the first exam or hearing the teacher tell you like, hey, really pay attention to practice problems at the end of the chapters in your textbooks or whatever. Like things like that would stick to me and I would make sure I'm reviewing those things. Well, when it comes to practice problems, things that aren't even on the PowerPoints, sometimes I'd like to write it out and actually have it in my notes myself. Another thing I want to say is don't stress over your notes to make sure that they're super pretty. I know myself, like I can't function if like if my notes are like messed up in a certain way, like I need to rewrite it just for myself. But at the same time, I have notes where there's certain things that I'm like, okay, I just don't have time to write any more notes. I'm just going to print the PowerPoints out and we're good. That's happened before and that's totally okay. That is totally okay. So for example, I have some notes right here that are literally just blue pen and they were chapter 10 of some sort. They got kind of messier towards the end. And then by chapter, I don't know. At a certain point, I just started printing out material because to me, it didn't make sense to sit down and write this all out. Like, especially things like this. Like, there's just no need for me to write out that entire example when this looks pleasantly organized and A-okay. So, you know, mix and match is what I call these notes. A lot of people say it's very beneficial to rewrite your notes because it helps you study, this and that. I'm going to be honest with you guys. For certain classes, it did not help me at all. Rewrite your notes for classes that make sense for you, like something that you may not understand. But if it's like a statistics class, there's no need for you to rewrite your notes. Read your notes and do the problems. If it's a psychology class, maybe rewriting will help you remember vocabulary words, but for those types of classes, the most important thing for me was to write down those words or a certain topic, and then on the other side of the note card, write like the things that I needed to remember about that topic. It was less about rewriting the same notes, because I found that rewriting took a lot of, like it drained me a lot. So for me, the highlighting method was so helpful. Don't highlight until you're reviewing. And sometimes I would highlight last. I would actually first review with a colored pen and star certain areas that I needed to like look at. And then I would go in a third time and highlight through chapters. And this way I was looking over my notes over and over and over again. So for me, it almost felt as if I was rewriting them over again. But again, that is totally a personal preference. You have to decide that for yourself. When you are outlining things based off of, like say textbooks or something, don't sit there trying so hard to get every detail in. Things that are bolded, things that are important, that are like starred, that are written on the side. Those things are key to you, and those are the things that you should be highlighting and putting into your notes. Everything else, most of the time, if you read it once, you'll kind of remember it. The key to studying is not to write as many notes as possible or to have the most beautiful notes possible. It's to freaking learn the information. And if rewriting it a million times is going to help you, that's great. If reading it a million times is going to help you, that's great. But to me, I feel like a lot of people try to escape studying and learning the material by doing unnecessary kind of tasks just because it makes them feel good. So I used to do that. Like I used to have those pretty notes and then I realized they just weren't efficient. They weren't giving me what I needed. I would love to sit here and like highlight this pack of notes with you guys, but if I'm honest, it's not going to help you. Like this is not the information that you guys need to learn, but the way that I used to really focus on my notes was writing out like vocabulary, I'd like to put like a square over it. Here, let me show you. This is what my chapter 10 notes look like. So I have a bunch of stuff written out over here. And what I want you guys to notice the most is that any vocabulary is usually squared, or the name of the chapter. Then we have examples and things that I thought were like, nice to know, formulas, things like that. I would probably highlight significantly because I would really want to make sure I remember them. And I would even copy the way that the textbook would, highlight or talk about something. So if they circled something like this, I would probably circle it myself, just so that it would make more sense. I also like to just add a little bit of variety to my notes. Either write certain things in script, add arrows, certain things like that. It made a lot more sense to me when I did make it neat. I think that most of the time people are trying to show you like their nice, neat notes, but I'm trying to just give you guys straight up facts. Like, I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. The nicer and the prettier your notes look doesn't mean that you're going to get good grades. I want you to have notes that are efficient, that do you the best, and that give you a lot of use. Because sometimes I notice, like, if I would write my notes out and I would highlight them and make them look pretty, when I'm reviewing, I couldn't be interactive with my notes. So that's why I liked writing my notes out with just one pen or one pencil, whatever, and then going back in with colored pens, and then going back another time with highlighters. One way or another, it felt almost interactive because I didn't have to rewrite the notes, but I had to circle things, I had to underline things, I had to highlight things, and that made my brain pay attention. So I highly recommend doing that. I also recommend not freaking out too much and allowing printed notes and things that your professor gives you to just be enough. Don't feel the pressure to rewrite things, to kind of make doubles of things that don't need to be doubled. And just make sure you're spending the time learning the best way that you can. Because for certain classes, reading the notes wouldn't help me. I watched YouTube videos. I watched like other people do the problems. Some classes I literally went to the teaching assistant every week and did homework problems with them just so that I could understand the material better, because it made sense to me when I saw somebody else do the problem, because then I could completely mimic the same way that they were figuring out those types of problems. So understand what classes require what from you, and then make the proper adjustments, because there are certain classes where you might succeed a lot by having really pretty notes and writing a lot and rewriting your notes, and then there's other classes where notes might not even be necessary, and it's more of a conversational type of understanding what the professor is trying to get across to you. So understand that, and then just good luck. I wish you all the best this semester, next semester, all your semesters, and if you guys want any other types of tips and advice videos, let me know. I'd love to do them for you guys. I love doing advice videos, and yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. I love you, and I will see you very soon. Bye!